All right, so we are doing our notes for 3-3, looking at starch and glucose molecules. So make sure you have this page in your note packet ready. You're going to want a red and a blue colored pencil, and you're also going to need your yellow progress tracker because we got a new vocab word. All right, make sure you have those things. So let's start with just looking at our title, Starch and Glucose Molecules. So starch and glucose were the foods that we added into our model of the small intestine in our baggie or our dialysis tubing. So starch and glucose represent food molecules. But what's the word molecule mean? This is where you need your yellow progress tracker. So go to your yellow progress tracker, go to the vocabulary page. We already have the word interaction in there. So we're adding a new word after interaction, molecule. So a molecule is a group of atoms bonded together. And don't forget to add a picture with color. So pause the video, add this word, draw your picture. So we are back to our notes. Let's do this. So first off, you notice we have a key right here. So our key says that we have these different pictures that represent different atoms: carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, right? And their symbols, C, O, and H. Now, carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen are all elements. So we're going to label our elements. Carbon, oxygen, hydrogen. That's going to be important. So we have our glucose molecule here, and we have our starch molecule. So we're going to look at these two things. So let's start with what these two molecules have in common. And actually, let's write their names really big right here. So glucose, and this one is starch. All right, so what do glucose and starch have in common? We're looking for patterns between these two molecules. So let's start with similarities, and we're going to make a list right here of our similarities. So similarities between our two molecules. So both contain, well, let's look. Here's carbon. So I see carbon and carbon. Oxygen, I see oxygen, oxygen. Hydrogen. So they both contain carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen. So both glucose and starch have all three of these elements. All right. Another similarity is that both have a similar arrangement of atoms. So what I mean by that is, for example, the carbon. So let's look at our carbons. All right, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carbons, right? Let's look over at our starch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they've got that 6, and they're arranged in the same pattern, right? You can see the pattern of carbon here and the pattern of carbon here. So one example, carbon 6C, that's the carbons, in a ring. Let's see if there's another example. We could look at oxygens. So oxygen, this is my oxygen. Carbon, oxygen, carbon, oxygen, carbon, oxygen, carbon, oxygen, carbon, oxygen, carbon, oxygen. Let's look over here. Carbon, oxygen, carbon, oxygen, carbon, oxygen, carbon, oxygen, carbon, oxygen, carbon, oxygen. So, same pattern. I have oxygen. You have 6O around the carbon. So I have that same pattern in both. All right, let's think about differences. So what are some differences? So we can put our differences right here. Differences. All right, what's a first difference? Well, this is a whole glucose molecule all by itself. So just this is a glucose. Cool. Starch, you can see it goes on and on and on and on. In fact, it says this shows approximately, or about, that's the little about symbol, 1/100th of a starch molecule. This is the tail end. So this times 100 is a full starch molecule. So the major difference is starch is much larger and more complex. That's the big difference. But let's really look at this similarity thing, right? I'm actually going to grab my red. Let's go over this box we have on the glucose. So this is one glucose molecule. Look at this and then look over here. This and this match, right? So this is one glucose molecule. And there's another glucose molecule. Hey, look, there's another glucose molecule. So if we notice, starch is really a whole bunch of glucose molecules attached together, right? So the important thing to know is that starch and glucose molecules have the same atomic makeup, right? COH, carbon, oxygen, hydrogen. Oops, sorry about that. Same atomic makeup, carbon, oxygen, hydrogen. They also have the same structure or arrangement. So they have the carbons and the oxygens arranged in the same way. So what is the really big difference? The difference equals size. So starch is a series of glucose molecules stuck together. So glucose, small single molecule, starch, large molecule made of lots of glucoses stuck together.